In this video, I'm going to show you how to place the front brake hose on this Ford E-350. It goes from your brake line down to your front caliper. Let's get started. If your wheel has a hubcap, remove it with a pry bar on the edge here. Just be sure not to pry too far on the edge. You want to push it in a little bit, otherwise it could break. Use a 22mm socket to remove all 8 lug nuts and then pull the wheel off. And remove the wheel. Now with the wheel off, let's unclip the brake hose off of the ABS sensor wire. Just pull these off. What I will also do is right up here where the ABS sensor connects, I'm going to unclip it off the frame, and you'll see in a little bit why. It'll give us much better access. You don't necessarily have to disconnect it, you just have to pull it straight off of the frame. Oh, this is the mounting clip that should have come off, but that's okay. We can hook it back on at the end. Just set this aside for now. Where the brake line meets the brake hose, the fitting is actually right behind this bracket. So this is why I removed the ABS sensor connector, because it'll give us much more space for a wrench right here. What I want to do next is make sure that that fitting breaks free on the brake line. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They want to twist the line with it, and if it does, well, you're looking at building yourself a new brake line if that snaps off. There is a clip, a locking clip here that holds the hose onto the bracket. I want to try to either remove or at least move that clip first so you can better understand what's happening behind here. I have a mirror and you can see the brake line and the clip right there. That clip needs to go out this way, and then obviously we can pull that brake line through at least partially so we can get better access to it. It's very difficult to get access here, so I'm using a pry bar and a hammer trying to tap it out. Perfect. Now we should be able to wiggle this and pull it through. And there we go. Much better access to it now. Now you need an 11mm flare nut wrench and a 19mm regular wrench. Just find the best angle that you can put it at and just try to break this fitting free. All right, I got it. I gotta work it back and forth. It's pretty stuck, but it's spinning the fitting without spinning the line, which is great news. Just gonna keep soaking it in rust penetrant and working it back and forth. It's already freeing up, so this is great. This means we can continue without worrying about this line. To make it easier, I'm going to put some locking pliers on the brake line side of the fitting. That's gonna make it so that as I clamp this down, I don't have to keep adjusting my 19mm wrench over and over, because these will stay locked in. All right, this is definitely working out pretty well here. So we're gonna pause on this. Right about here on the brake hose, I'm going to pinch it off. Since this is the old one, I'm not worried about damaging it. And this is going to make it so we have less loss of brake fluid. I have these special pliers made for hoses, but if you just have locking pliers, you can pinch it off with that. Now with a 14mm socket or wrench, loosen up the banjo bolt on the caliper side. Have a collection bucket underneath because fluid will leak as you do this. Even though we pinch the brake hose, there is still some fluid in the hose, and the caliper is also full. Take this out, let this drain into your collection bucket, and while that does its thing, we're gonna have to remove the banjo bolt from the old hose. Sometimes the washer, the inner washer here, will squish to the point where it actually grips onto the threads, and you can't just push the bolt out. So get yourself some pliers that'll pinch onto the washer and unthread the bolt. Take the bolt out, and because we're reusing the bolt, but definitely not the copper washer, discard those. Inspect the bolts. Sometimes they corrode a lot, or they stretch, or maybe the threads are in poor condition. So in that case, you'd want to source a new one, but this one is in very good shape, totally reusable, so we're going to set it aside. Wipe off the surface here on the caliper to make sure it's going to have a nice clean sealing surface. Take your banjo bolt, put one new copper washer on it, put it through the brake hose, and make sure the brake hose is oriented in the correct way. So with this bend facing towards the wheel. Then on the other side, install the other new copper washer. And then seat this onto the caliper. Snug it up. The torque for this is 30 foot-pounds. Basically, you just want to squish the copper washers a little bit. That's what's going to create the nice tight seal. Back up here, let's finish removing the fitting and the brake line from the brake hose. Keep in mind, as soon as you disconnect this, brake fluid will start leaking out of the brake line. So have that collection bucket centered as well as the new hose ready so we can put it back on nice and quick. There it is. Take that new brake hose, start it on. This is going to be, well, the second hardest part of the job is starting this brake hose on, because if the threads aren't perfectly lined up, it's not going to start on. And it looks like I got it, which is perfect. So now I can keep tightening until it's completely bottomed out. That's starting to get snug. So grab that 19mm wrench or the locking pliers, whatever you want to hold this with, and just give this a good twist, just like that. About a quarter turn. That should be plenty to seat that fitting, seal it up, get this seated back into its bracket, and put that locking clip back on. The way I'm going to seat this is put a pry bar on it and tap onto the pry bar with the hammer. That's going to seat it straight down, and that is now locked in. Now you want to get all the old brake fluid off of the frame and everywhere where it dripped with brake parts cleaner. Back on the caliper side, we're going to perform a gravity bleed now so we can get all the air out of the brake line and the brake hose as well as the top of the caliper here. So open up the bleeder screw. You can use a 3/8 wrench for that. And at this point, just let the gravity pull the fluid down into the caliper, push the air out. After the gravity bleed is done, you may need to perform a manual brake bleed, which you will see how to do at the end of the video. However, the gravity bleed should get rid of most of the air, if not all of the air that's in the system. We have a nice steady trickle of fluid here, clean fluid, so I know it's fresh from the master cylinder. Give this a couple twists just in case any air is stuck. And at this point, because this has been dripping for 10-15 seconds nice and clean, we're going to snug it up. Use brake parts cleaner to rinse everything off. If your caliper bleeder screw had a boot, go ahead and put that on. Mine was missing to begin with. Reattach the ABS sensor connector and resecure the ABS sensor wire onto the brake hose. These little clips are adjustable, so make sure you put them kind of where the ABS sensor has the rubber grommets. Now pump up the brake pedal. Let's top off the master cylinder. Let's put the wheel back on. Put back all 8 lug nuts, snug them up in a cross pattern to seat that wheel. And then also in a cross pattern, we're going to torque these to 148 foot-pounds. 148 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Here we go. Double check them if you want. There you have it. Now install the hubcaps if your vehicle had some. And when you do this, you want to make sure that you line up this cutout here with the valve stem. Open the hood and you'll see that on the driver's side, right next to the coolant overflow, you'll have your brake master cylinder reservoir. If it has a lot of debris on it, wipe it down. Mine's a little bit dirty, but it's also very stained. So this isn't really dust that's going to fall into it. Open up the cap. If you look closely at the cap, you'll see that it says to use .3 brake fluid. I know this one's kind of dirty, but you should be able to see it on yours. I have a vacuum pump with the collection receptacle on it, and what I'm going to use this for is to remove the old fluid that's in the reservoir. If you have anything else that's going to remove this brake fluid, go ahead and use that. Just remove as much as you can out of this reservoir. Okay, that's as much as I'm going to get out of it, so I'll stop right there. Now take some new .3 brake fluid and fill up the reservoir. That's full right there, up to the max line. Let's cap it off. We are now ready to start the bleeding sequence on this van, and the first wheel you want to start at is the right rear. After you've bled that one, go to the left rear, do the same thing. Now that we've done the rear axle, top off that master cylinder to make sure it stays plenty full. Then you go to the right front, you bleed that caliper, and then lastly the left front. Top off that master cylinder again since you've bled another 2 calipers, and then check the pedal. Make sure it's nice and firm when you pump it up with the engine off. If you're unhappy with how the pedal feels or you think you have more air left in the system, repeat the bleed in the same sequence until you are satisfied with the bleed. Now this is the right rear caliper. We're gonna have an assistant in the vehicle ready to pump up that brake pedal and create pressure in the system. After they do that, they're gonna hold the pedal so that pressure is applied, and then I will break the bleeder screw free to release any air. Go ahead and pump. All right, they're holding pressure. I have a little hose that is attached to a collection receptacle so I don't spill fluid anywhere. Using a 10mm wrench, open up that bleeder screw. There we go, we got some air. Pedal hit the floor, go ahead and pump again. We're just gonna repeat this process until there's no more air coming out of the bleeder screw. Okay, holding pressure. Okay, hit the floor, go ahead and pump again. All right, open it up. Hit the floor, go ahead and pump again. This one was clean, so we'll do it one more time. All right. Oh, I got an air bubble. Go ahead and pump again. All right, this is clean. Go ahead and pump again. Perfect. You can let go of the brake pedal now. I had 3 clean bleeds in a row, nice fresh fluid, so this is all set. I'm going to wipe off any remaining brake fluid here. You can use some brake parts cleaner and spray this down. And of course, if you had the little rubber cap, go ahead and plug up the bleeder screw so it doesn't get clogged up. Now we're going to do the same thing to the left side rear, then we'll top off the master cylinder and move to the front. I topped off the master cylinder, and I'm at the right front caliper, so we're going to bleed this one. Go ahead and pump. Okay, holding pressure. This is a 3/8 bleeder screw now, so get that wrench on there. Open it up. Floor. All right, hit the floor. Go ahead and pump again. All right, pump again. Perfect. You can let go of the brake pedal. We had several nice clean bleeds in a row here, fresh fluid. So once again, wipe all of this off. If you had brake fluid dripping down the caliper, use brake parts cleaner to rinse that off. And the last caliper in this sequence is going to be the left front caliper, so go ahead and bleed that one. With everything done, top off the master cylinder one last time. Make sure it's full all the way up to that max line. You can see that on the side of the master. And of course, cap it off. Now, if you're unhappy with how the brake pedal feels and you think you need to bleed again, do it in the same exact sequence, all 4 wheels, or all 4 calipers, I should say, until you are satisfied. Then top it off once again and put the wheels back on. 148 foot-pounds in a cross pattern. Take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.